What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Fumble Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. We have a lot to get into today. As usual, we're talking about Paul Pierce and the latest update with him. He was actually fired from ESPN for that Instagram Live he put up on, I think it was Saturday. James Wiseman gets advice from an unlikely NBA player. And then we're also talking about Kawhi Leonard's potential future plans. I can't wait to get into all of that. But before we do, subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below. Also, I noticed that all of my vitamins are on the table behind me. They're vitamins. It's nothing weird or suspicious, you guys. So I should have moved those, but I didn't know they were in sight. All right, here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You guys can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward. I look like a drug addict with all of my vitamin B over there. What the hell?
Oh my God, that is fantastic. It looks like DEA is gonna bust in at any moment, but I'm definitely ready. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter @JRayTheFanatic. But since you're in a hotel, maybe you'll have time because you know what today is. It's Taco
Tuesday. Jackie, I thought you were going to forget again for the third week in a row. Good job. I'm really proud of you. I'm glad that we were able to get that in today, get the Taco Tuesday going. I was ready to take over for you if you needed it, but you don't need it. How are you feeling today, Jackie? Everything good with you?
Feeling good. Noticing we're in the black and yellow. Yep. I'm loving that. Yellow's my favorite color, if y'all haven't picked up on that. Yellow, purple, and black. Favorite colors in the world.
Oh, weird. I wonder why. Huh.
Right?
Very weird.
Purple, I don't know. I think purple is just my Prince fetish. I love Prince.
Okay.
I think that's how that came about. But yellow, I just have, since I was a kid, I've always loved yellow. Could be because of Bumblebee. I was obsessed with Bumblebee when I was a kid. Could be.
Oh, well, yellow really suits you. For me, yellow, it's it sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't, but I tend to just stick with black. I love wearing black. That's my favorite color. Oh, really quickly, it was JD's birthday yesterday, so happy birthday, JD. You should have told us when we were actually live. We would have wished you a happy birthday. Hopefully you're getting some Taco Tuesday tacos to celebrate. Okay, let's just jump right into the news today because this Paul Pierce update, I shouldn't be surprised, but I am surprised by this. So ESPN fired Paul Pierce after he went on his Instagram Live and showed himself partying with strippers. We showed you some of those clips yesterday. Jackie talked about it in the post-up, and there were girls in thongs twerking in the background while they were throwing poker chips at her. They were taking shots. They were giving really terrible-looking massages. So it was a wild night, you could tell. And he went on his Instagram Live and was just broadcasting it to everybody, which, looking back was probably not the best decision considering he's married and he does work for a company like ESPN, but still I feel like the action that ESPN took was a little bit harsh. He was completely let go from his position, and they stated, or ESPN was particularly, this is from a source close to ESPN, they said ESPN was particularly miffed that Pierce chose to put the videos out on his own accord. If he had been filmed doing the same activities and they became public by someone else, he may have kept his job. So because he was the one who chose to go live on Instagram and broadcast himself partying, and in this, I guess, somewhat compromising position, they decided that was reason enough for him to lose his job with the network. So Jackie, do you agree that this was an overreaction by ESPN?
Yeah, that's the first thing. If you guys follow me on my Instagram, I was like, what in the overreaction hell was going on with ESPN? The man... I don't think it was poker chips either that they were throwing at the girls. I think it was regular old Lay's potato chips, what I thought they were throwing at them. Yes.
I thought this whole time it was poker chips.
No, I saw a regular old Lay's potato chips. Maybe it was poker chips as well, but in the video I watched, the Lay's potato chip flew across the room and landed on the floor. So I don't know. Maybe it was both.
Wait, our producer says it was poker chips, but maybe they also had Lay's potato chips too. I don't know.
I saw a potato chip fly across the room, and because I eat a lot of Lay's, not anymore. I used to eat a lot of Lay's potato chips, but so I know what a Lay's potato chip looks like, and I was like, "Why are you wasting chips?" That's just anyway. So I thought the whole video was hilarious. Artie and I, our producer, we talked about it because I think the highest number of views it got was 310 views, and you know the activity that they were doing as a woman, it's like you did all this for 310 views and chips, poker, or potato, I don't know, but you know it just seemed like a really, you know, he was turned up. It was his day off. It was him out there enjoying himself. I think people got upset because, you know, he's married, and he did say, "Oh, I'm not married." I went and I looked. Y'all know I got my investigative hat on, and I don't know if they're separated, but they're definitely not legally divorced. He is still legally married. I don't know, you know, outside of that, what's going on in his life, but he's not divorced. He's still married. So I definitely thought this was an overreaction. I didn't see anything in that video that was incredibly offensive. It was just, you know, strippers that's their job. It wasn't like they were engaged in a compromising position or we saw anything outside of the normal job requirements for a stripper. So I don't really know why this warrants, you know, people on my Instagram, they were like, oh, well, ESPN is owned by Disney, and, you know, Disney's all for the kids, so they can't. I'm like, okay, you know, Disney's also this company that in every movie, this used to be a thing for a long time. In every movie, you could find some sort of hidden sexual innuendo in their cartoons targeted towards kids. So they're not that, you know, oblivious. So I don't know. This just seemed like I don't know. I feel like something had to be going on behind the scenes and they were just looking for a reason to get rid of him, and then this was it. But I just don't believe that this was the entire reason that they got rid of him. It just seems like a weird reason to fire somebody to me.
I think it seems like a weird reason to fire somebody too, but I feel like because I think the key point here is the fact that ESPN is owned by Disney, and so Disney does tip it. You know, it's a company, you know, a network or whatever that's catered towards young children. So even though they may have these different entities underneath them, like ESPN, that's geared more towards adults, they kind of have to maintain a similar, you know, somewhat similar brand identity, I think, across all of their various platforms. So I'm actually not surprised that ESPN has been making kind of terrible decisions with their talent and with the way they choose to like respond and handle things, especially in the last year. So I'm not surprised that they took such swift action. They probably felt like they were doing the right thing just because it did make such a splash online. But I you know, maybe put him on like temporary leave, you know, for a week if you really want to show that you're like taking action and like, you know, disciplining him or whatever it is. But ultimately it was his day off, so I don't feel like it really warranted such a strong reaction. Do you think that it's just wildly go ahead, Jackie.
I felt like they could have done a disciplinary action if they needed to. They could have issued a statement. They could have required him to issue the fake apology that we've seen time and time again, said, hey, you know, I understand that we have a wide demographic as far as our audience. There might have been some kids who follow me. And obviously, if you're a parent, you probably did not want why your child was up at 1 o'clock in the morning anyway. So we still have to address your parenting skills if your kid was up watching my Instagram live, but no one takes responsibility for stuff like that. So let him have an opportunity to issue an apology of some sort. It just seemed like this was an easy fix. Hey, you're sorry. Hey, in the future, don't do this. You know, maybe you're not aware, but this is the kind of behavior we don't want you doing on your social media. It just seems like a write-up. You know, the standard, we're going to write you up for this would have been warranted in this situation. But we're firing you? This, I don't know. It seems like a lot to me. It's funny, but it seems like a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think it seems like a lot too. And it seems like the chat agrees with us. Pam Higgins says, do what you want, but keep it off a public format. I mean, yes, I understand that. You know, you can be mindful about what you post, but I think that he was probably really turned up and probably didn't even think about what he was doing. Devin Nguyen says Rachel Nichols was trending on Twitter because of the video. I don't know what she had to do with it. Did you hear about anything with Rachel Nichols?
No, I didn't. I saw somebody else in the chat said that he probably got fired because of what Rachel Nichols said, but I don't know what that means either. So please enlighten us. People say it's spring break. You know, they can be up as long as they want. You guys must be raised by different parents than what I was raised by, because when I was of school age, spring break meant I could stay up a little later, it didn't mean I could stay up to Paul Pierce booty shaking hours, though. That's not what that meant. So I don't know. You guys got different parents.
So apparently it's because people look at Rachel as like the hot ESPN girl, I guess, and Paul Pierce. They were all saying like, "Oh, where's Rachel?"
Is that it?
Yeah,
because
she was like, "Where's Rachel?" Yeah.
Oh, boom.
It's kind of dumb. I don't know why that would have gotten him fired. But anyway, yeah, I just think this whole thing is ridiculous. I think Jackie has an update for us, like Paul's reaction to all of the news in the post-up, so stick around for that, you guys. For now, let's move into our next need-to-know news story. Let's talk about James Wiseman, because he gets advice from some unlikely NBA players. So he already is making friends in high places just by virtue of the fact that he plays for the Warriors. He gets to play alongside Steph, Draymond Green. He gets to not play with Clay, but he gets to hang out with him. But he also is developing relationships with athletes on opposing teams. In a press conference on Monday, he talked about how he regularly receives advice from Kevin Durant. Apparently, KD has been helping the rookie navigate the Warriors franchise and kind of figure out where he can fit in the system. Leo, can you roll that clip for us?
I mean, I talk to KD every day. We talk about like the system, like how he was able to fit into the system here, and he just gave me like a lot of advice, and really just a lot more players around the league give me a lot of great advice.
So he gets advice from KD, and some people had some strong reactions to that. They felt like it was a bad idea. Someone tweeted, "This ain't good, LOL." Another person tweeted, "That's not going to win any points with Coach Kerr." Other people think that this is KD's attempt to start recruiting James Wiseman. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But Jackie, what's your reaction to the fact that James Wiseman receives advice from KD, who is not only on the biggest threat of a team in the NBA right now, but also is an ex-Warriors player?
I don't think it's as menacing as people think. I think that KD probably is trying to help him navigate Draymond a little bit, because we've seen Draymond on the sideline kind of being very stern with him, and that might be getting on his nerves a little bit. So KD might be trying to help him navigate Draymond, and we've seen how vocal Draymond is on everything he is passionate about. So, you know, being the young guy coming in, maybe there's been some times where he's wanted to say something back to Draymond and he hasn't, because he knows he's the rookie on the squad. So maybe, you know, KD is giving him some advice on that. And then KD's probably giving him some advice on just fitting in. I think your rookie year, you really do have to try to figure out where you are and what you mean to that franchise. I was reading an article a couple of days ago that said Kyle Kuzma still doesn't know where he fits in with the Lakers. So sometimes you really just do need that outside person to, which shows, but sometimes you just do need that outside person to come in and kind of tell you, hey, this is what it is. And I'm sure he's giving him advice on his game as well. And if people say, oh, KD's recruiting, again, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. If you see something in this kid that could potentially benefit you, you know, once his time is up to go somewhere, I'm not mad at that. You need best people on your squad. But I ultimately think what he's really kind of giving him is an understanding of the Warriors work a very, very specific way. It's going to be different than probably any other franchise that we see in the league, because they have a very specific system that works very, very well for them, and no one has really been able to emulate that. So he's probably giving him an inside track on what that's like. They've already kind of got this core group of people that they've built this whole thing around, and just helping him understand what that means for him right now and what that could potentially mean for him in the future. I don't think it's as menacing. I'm not saying it's not. This is KD. I'm not saying it's not menacing and there's not some sort of shady undertones to it, but it's probably not that at its core.
Yeah. Well, there was a chat in here that I wanted to read from Tavara. They say, it's odd, definitely. KD's not on the Warriors. He should worry about the Nets. Let the rookie learn from Draymond. What I want to say to that really quickly is I don't think Draymond is the type of guy to take a rookie under his wing. I think he's more of a tough love kind of guy. So if James responds better to someone giving him advice, then that's going to, he's going to benefit and gain more from that type of relationship. But it does lead me to my next question for you, Jackie. Is a rookie a rookie? Should any NBA star, regardless of team, be happy to help? Or do you think that it's better for James to be seeking advice from his teammates maybe not necessarily Draymond on the Warriors, but Steph and Clay, they would be great, a wealth of information for him.
Yeah, they would, but they don't play. They're not as big as him. They don't play the same position as him. So sometimes you just got to learn from a guy who's done it the way that's similar to your style of play. And that's just one of the things I remember about Kobe, and you guys probably remember it too, even though none of you guys probably actually saw it. But there's enough tape of it. Every time that Kobe was on the floor with Jordan, he was asking him, "How'd you do this? How'd you do that?" Like, you learn from people who play in the manner in which you want to play. So I don't think there's anyone on the Warriors who play in the way that James Wiseman wants to play. We've seen Draymond tell him several times, "You can't take that many shots. What are you doing? Don't take that many shots." Obviously, James Wiseman is the type of player that wants to take those kinds of shots. He wants to get better at taking those kinds of shots, and getting advice from Draymond is not going to get it. It's not going to help him in that way. So, two things. Number one, if James has thought out KD's advice on his own, I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that shows that this is a guy that recognizes, okay, that's where I want to go. How am I going to get there? What's the fastest way to get there? Ask the guy who's already there. So I think that's beautiful if he reached out to KD on his own. And I think it's even more beautiful if KD reciprocated, because I think that's once you get to the stage that KD is on, LeBron is on, that's kind of what you revert to, is mentoring these young kids who are coming up, So I don't think it's a bad thing in any way. I definitely don't think, from what I see of the Warriors, he's going to immediately get that type of mentorship that's going to help him evolve the way that he wants to play. And the way he wants to play, to me, is a little bit different than the role they want to put him in. But if he can get really good at his style of play, they'll have no choice but to kind of go with it. So I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing too. I don't see a big problem with it, but of course, like I said, people online do think that it's a little bit suspicious that he is seeking out advice from KD. Do you understand where people are coming from when they say this could be detrimental to the Warriors? And do you feel like this adds to the narrative that the NBA is getting too soft if a rookie is reaching out to somebody like KD on an opposing team to figure out how he can be better?
This whole soft narrative is still weird to me, because to me, you're soft if you think the only advice you can get is from the people around you. When, like I said, we've already seen that the way that he sees himself as a player is not necessarily how the people around him see him as a player. So at that point, he would have to be the soft one. He would have to say, okay, who I want to be as a player, or how the style I want to play, they don't want me to play like that, so I'm just going to concede the point and listen to Draymond and those around me, and then that's it. That's soft to me. If there's something in your life that you want to be, and the people around you are not helping you be that, then you go outside of that circle. And it's that simple. So I get why people are saying that. But that's people's perception of KD. People think that KD's a snake because he left OKC, and I get that. You left a team that you were decent on, but you went to a team that you couldn't beat. So, and I understand that. And then you had problems there with Draymond. And then, I understand that whole narrative. But I think people saying that it could be problematic for the Warriors. Let me tell you something. The Warriors got a whole bunch of problems outside of James Wiseman talking to KD. Whole bunch. So this is not on the top of the list of problems that the Warriors have. So, no, stand down. I understand that this is the perception of KD. But no, this is not that big a deal when you really look at all the problems that the Warriors have.
I agree. And I think when you put it like that, Jackie, when you look at all of the different ways that the Warriors are just not really, matching up, and they're not living up to expectations, James Wiseman talking to KD is so at the bottom of the list. And it's not like advice from KD is going to suddenly, completely change anything with James. I just think that he's like a young guy. He's eager for information. And if he can have a relationship with one of the best players in the NBA, I think he absolutely should. So I personally don't have a problem with it either. Okay, let's get into our final Need to Know News update. Kawhi Leonard. So Kawhi's future with the Clippers is kind of a big question mark right now. We talked about this yesterday, but if the Clippers don't make it to the Western Conference Finals, the belief around the league is that Kawhi is going to be fielding offers from other teams and looking to go elsewhere so that he can have another chance to win a ring, because it just maybe doesn't seem to be working with the Clippers right now. An NBA agent told NBA Analysis Network that Kawhi could have interest in going to Miami and teaming up with Bam and Jimmy. They said, quote, Kawhi could very well listen to pitches from other teams. That is something that he's considering. If that does end up being the case, he would be intrigued at the possibility of joining the Miami Heat. Joining forces with Jimmy and Bam is something that he would absolutely have interest in. So, Jackie, how do you like this? Does he fit in with Bam and Jimmy and the Miami Heat dynamic?
That's an interesting one for me, because he should fit where he's at right now. He should be able to make this work for the Clippers. I think that the reason why this one might appeal to people is because Kawhi is not a vocal leader. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. You need a vocal leader on your team. You need someone to rally the troops. And when you're the quote-unquote best player on the team, that is supposed to be you. And Kawhi has failed miserably at that point of leadership. So when you go to a team like Miami and you have someone like Jimmy Butler there, all of a sudden you don't have to be that vocal leader. You have Jimmy Butler there who's going to pick up that slack for you. So for that reason, yes, I think it could work. I think it could be, maybe they can find a way to be this Batman and Robin duo that actually works and can lead that team. Because, Miami's good right now. So let's not sleep on them. They're good right now. You add Kawhi to that situation, and you add, everything that he brings to the game, and now you definitely have leveled up. My issue with the whole Kawhi rumors, first of all, I believe him 100%. I've been saying that. I think that if they don't get to, the finals, and not even get to the finals, if they don't win the finals, I think you can pretty much count on Kawhi leaving. My problem with that, though, is fix the problem here. You are in a situation here where you have all of these weapons. You can be good. And if all you have to do is step up and be a leader and modify certain behaviors, then step up and be a leader and modify certain behaviors. And I will always have a problem with him not doing that here, because as much as I don't want the Clippers to be relevant in LA, they should be. They really, really should be. When you look at that roster and you look at who Kawhi is as a person, he should be the guy that's taking the Clippers from this little brother entity to now it should be a battle for the West. And if you can't do that here, why am I going to give you credit for going somewhere else? I'm not there yet with that. I think that Kawhi needs to be a better leader here in LA before I give him credit for going anywhere else. But I do absolutely think he's going to go somewhere else.
So JD agrees with you in the chat. He said Kawhi did all of this to leave after 2 years. That's a quitter mentality. And it does seem like the Clippers are trying to do whatever they can to make it work around Kawhi. And if it's not going to work, if they're not able to get there, then the common denominator is Kawhi there. So it's an interesting situation. I will say with the Clippers, getting a new coach, and they had kind of a few changes, so it would take a little bit of time for them to kind of acclimate and gel again. But then at this point in the season, you'd think they'd kind of have found their groove by now. Do you feel like we're just going to continue hearing these kinds of rumors about Kawhi until we figure out what's happening with the Clippers, or do you think it's possible he's kind of already made up his mind that he's ready to go?
Oh, I don't think these are rumors. I think if you really pay attention to who Kawhi is, you know it's coming. The man played sick in San Antonio to get to Toronto. He went to Toronto knowing damn well he wasn't going to stay, and then he came to LA. He came to LA, and then all of a sudden it was Trez's fault. It was Doc's fault. Now we fixed all of that, and we still got a problem. He is not going, unless, and I mean this with every piece of my being, unless he reflects inward and says everything that I have wanted to happen has happened and we still have the problem. Is it possible that it's me? If he doesn't have that kind of conversation with himself, he's leaving. And it's just a thing, because I'm telling you, it makes no sense for him not to succeed in LA. And instead of him saying, "Oh, maybe it's me," he will bounce, because that's who he's proven to us he is. So I don't think it's a rumor. I think it's a given. And I think Clipper Nation, it's either the championship or he's out. I don't think it's a question mark. I think there's a period at the end of that sentence, personally.
Do you get a feeling of deja vu here? Because I'm sure you guys all remember after Toronto won the finals and Kawhi's future with the team was up in the air then, it was just this wild, like, media chaos. Toronto was chaotic. Everybody was offering Kawhi free stuff if he stayed. I mean, it was, like, so intense. And I feel like there was that giant media frenzy. And do you think that that was the case because they had just won the championship, or will it be the same sort of situation this season if the Clippers, fall out of the postseason early?
Oh, I don't see. This is LA. I don't see us begging and putting up billboards and saying we'll give you free rent or something like that for you to stay. We too prideful out here in LA for all of that. So if he wants to go, we'll probably call him a whole bunch of names on his way out. But I just don't see LA really doing that. And I do think Kawhi needs to be better. I see Kevin in the chat. He says great players doesn't always equal great leaders. Kawhi is not a leader, just a good player. He is, but I think at the same time, when you are the guy that teams are doing this, teams are putting up billboards begging you to stay, every person in media is sitting by waiting with bated breath to find out what your decision is. Are you coming to LA? Are you staying in Toronto? Then that puts a level of weight on your shoulders that you have to step up and carry, and not only carry for your name and for your brand, but you have to carry for that team as well, because now you're going into a franchise that franchise, everybody who's on that franchise knows that you're the guy. You are the guy. You can't just be that guy in silence. You can't be that guy coming late to practice. You can't be that guy late to, the airport. You can't be that guy. You have to lead by more than just example, because sometimes your examples fall flat, like in the fourth quarter. You can't just be the person who leads by example. You have to be vocal as well. He needs to step up on all fronts, and if he doesn't, he's going to run into the same thing in another organization. I don't see it being any different for him. That's just me, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you think about Kawhi and Jimmy Butler and the Heat culture, I think that Kawhi would probably really enjoy being able to kind of fall back into that quiet guy mentality, being a good player as opposed to a good leader. But I also think that Jimmy Butler has such a dog mentality when it comes to basketball. And I mean, we saw him in the bubble. He's like, I'm not going to bring my family. I'm just focusing on the game. And I don't know that Kawhi levels up in the same way. I think Kawhi of course Kawhi cares. He puts a lot of effort and intention into what he does, but I don't think he has that same sort of intensity that Jimmy does. So I wonder if that would be a sticking point for them as teammates if that were to go through. But that wraps up Need to Know News. So Jackie, will you take us into the post-up?
Yes, let's get into this Paul Pierce post-up. That's how we're going to start this one. I was probably one of the first people to see this whole ESPN firing him thing, and I immediately posted this to my Instagram. And when I tell y'all drug him from LA to New York and back. Y'all did not care that this man got fired. It was so sad, but he did have a reaction. Let me show you the reaction to his firing.
He seems relieved.
Right, and sometimes that happens like that. I have been in situations where you're like, let me just stick it out, and then you get fired, and you're like, oh, okay, God, I see you. But I don't know if he also posted this to his Twitter, where he says, I can't lose. I can't even lose when I lose, I'm winning. Whatever he's trying to say. I will say this. I know he started a show. I forget the network that it's on. It's with that comedian that is not that funny to me. I forget his name. His facial expressions are funny, but he's not funny to me. But anyway, so he's got a new show called It's Not a Sports Show. So I know that's starting on a network that's supposedly free. It's the app or whatever. And then he also posted this. Let me show you one more tweet here. And then I want to get that.
I just want to thank all my supporters. I want to thank my haters and everything. Look, but check it out. Bigger and better things coming, baby. Don't worry about it. You fall twice, you get up 3 times. Just always remember to smile, baby. I'm good. Understands me?
Yeah, we understand. We understand. I'm just saying. So here's the thing. He was terrible at what he does, but I loved his terribleness. His takes were horrendous, and they were funny to me. I guess I'm one of the few. Everyone else just said he was terrible. I did see a tweet that said maybe Dwayne Wade can get over to ESPN. I don't know. Dwayne Wade seems happy where he's at, And I have heard that ESPN is not, Disney is not the happiest place on earth. But Devin, do you believe him? Do you believe that he's just like, it's whatever, I'm moving on? Like, he is unfazed by losing a job at ESPN.
Okay, so I think had he just posted the single laughing video, I would have thought, yeah, he's relieved, he's unfazed, he doesn't care at all. But the second video that you showed us, the shout out to my haters, all of that, it makes me think that it actually bothers him a little bit more than he wants to let on, because that's the kind of thing that you do when you're trying to show that you're not mad. You're like, yeah, I'm not mad, like I'm so cool, I'm so chill, but really, just the fact that you posted that tells us everything that we need to know. You are a little bit upset, a little bit butthurt, and I don't blame him. I think it would suck to lose a job at ESPN. That's probably a huge salary that he's missing now, but luckily he does have these other irons in the fire, other projects coming up. But I guess in this situation, the best thing that you can do is either address it seriously and say, I regret posting twerking strippers on my Instagram story, or laugh it off and act like you're unbothered. But I feel like those are really your only two options, and we know which path he chose to take there.
Yeah, and this new show that he has coming out, it's called Not a Sports Show for a reason. They have like sports people on there, but it's not, and I think that'd be more up his alley, because like I said, some of his takes were like, what? How did he even? What? It wasn't the best. He wasn't the best at what he was doing, but I thought it was funny. Someone, Aiden in the chat, says he is still high. Just wait till his money is gone. I love her. He loves him because he's a big Celtics fan. Okay, I was like, I'm the lover of the what? What did you say? Okay, so maybe it's not just him that's high, but I feel you. I get what you was trying to say, but. Paul Pierce, I'm pulling for you, my guy. Yes, you had some terrible takes, but I thought they were funny. But I am the lone gunman in thinking Paul Pierce's horrible takes were funny. I learned that on my Instagram. Thanks for letting me know. But now let's move on to this next one. Because even though yesterday we told you we were not going to talk about this heathen child anymore, we're going to have to talk about this heathen. I'm not even going to say his whole heathen Rapaport. That's his new name. I cannot stand this man. Let me just show you this clip real quick. Take a look.
That you've had time to really think about everything.
Oh, it's been crazy. It's been tough. The last few days have been tough. Have been crazy. I've gone out of the house and I get, sneers, and I get finger pointing, and I don't do good with sneers and snickers. And then I actually went to the dog park with my dog, and people that usually, say hello and even play with my dog, they don't want to play with my dog Wheezy. And then I went to my coffee shop and they said, not today, Cupcake. And it's weird. It's like, why are you calling me Cupcake? And then I get online and social media, and I know I put it out there, but people online have been so cruel and mean, and I have to say,
Boy bye. This is if boy bye was a person. Look, so 10 seconds later, he goes to this whole, I'm just kidding. I don't care what people think about me, blah, blah, blah. I wish he would bring his dog to a dog park near me. I don't even have a dog. I would get a dog and I would train it to pee on Michael Rapaport. I cannot stand this man at all. He's so fake. And then he just says, I'm not really crying. I'm not really upset, blah, 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 blah. I do have to shout out Shannon Sharp, though, because Shannon Sharp let him know this is all your fault. Don't say you had no idea, because in his little fake apology we saw yesterday, he's like, I underestimated the power of my social media. No, you didn't. You knew exactly what you were doing. And so thank you, Shannon Sharp, for calling him out. Take a look.
Mike, that was my biggest problem, was that you released the DMs. You have to understand, if that's anyone else, if that's Joe Blow, they don't know who Joe Blow is. That's Kevin Durant. In many regards, he's the first or second or third best player in the NBA. You had to know. If I release DMs from a girlfriend, they don't care. But if my girlfriend is a celebrity, the shade room, everybody's going to pick that up. Mike, that's just not anybody. That's just not the normal troll that's in your DMs. And second of all, how did you allow this to get to this? The moment it started going sideways, there's no more banter. Now it's time to cease and let it go. I'm going to unfollow him, block him, and keep it moving.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. And I love the heathen Rapaport just looking like, oh no, somebody's calling me out on my BS. What am I gonna do? And then he just says, oh, you're 100% right. I just took it like he was really threatening me. Again, if you guys don't know who heathen Rapaport is, this man has said way worse than Kevin Durant, and he's a scumbag. And I hate that Kevin Durant has had to go through this because of heathen Rapaport. But let's move on and let's get something a little bit different in our life, because the Knicks kept it really close. They lost by just 2 points, but this has sparked a Randle family beef. And it's not from Julius, but trust me when I tell you, there is a beef brewing, but it's an adorable beef. Take a look.
You hate who? I hate those. You hate them? Yeah. It's okay.
Oh. I don't even know what to do with this. I've watched that video. It has to be 100 times because I feel his pain. I think a lot of teams feel his pain. But Devin, when you saw this video, what'd you think?
I thought it was so sweet how he says, I hate those. He's so little, he just doesn't even understand. Poor guy. I mean, I think being the son of or any kind of athlete, actually, the son or daughter of an athlete, and watching your mom or dad lose, it would hurt. That would be the kind of like tragedy that you just don't know how to deal with when you're that little. So I don't blame him for sobbing and being super mad. And it'll be funny to see how long this beef goes on. What if he's like in his 20s and also playing basketball and he still hates the Nets?
Yeah, I thought of that too. I was like, what if he ends up being this amazing college player or even goes to the G League and then ends up on the Nets? Like, and then people are just going to be, remember this? It's going to be hilarious. I'm kind of hoping for that.
Diss you?
Yeah, is it what you got to say now? I was a child, leave me be. I love it though. Let's move on to this next one, because this next one, you guys, if you're new here, I see a lot of you guys that are new here. And first of all, welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. But I am a huge KYRIE fan. I obviously criticize him on a lot of things that he does wrong that I do not like. But I believe in my heart of hearts, at the end of the day, this man is a good man at his core, and he really, really cares about people. And I agree. I don't know why people subscribe to this whole thing of he's the villain. I think just the masses, when you don't act a certain way, they want to make you a villain. But the masses are crazy a lot of the times, and there's history proves that. But KYRIE cares about people, and he proved it once again. Take a look at this that was posted on TikTok, I think. Instagram or TikTok. Take a look.
Yesterday, I met Kyrie Irving in Chicago, and he helped this kid out who was selling food for his family. And he said, take it to your family. Then 2 minutes later, he proceeded to stop his bus and come back out to see a kid wwho was crying to see him.
Thank you, Kyrie. Thank you, Kyrie. Thank you, Kyrie. Thank you.
This is just beautiful to me. The fact that he stopped the bus and came back and he saw. So the kid was selling candy to try to, raise money for food, basically for his family. So KYRIE gave him a whole bunch of money, as we just saw, and didn't take the candy. So ultimately, he could even get more money. So I thought that was a really good thing. And sometimes you just have to help where you can. You can't necessarily save the entire world when you're just one person. So that's the message that I really want this next Twitter user to pick up, instead of looking for the bad in the situation. Look at the good in the situation. He says, what's handing him out money going to solve in the long term? Sure, they could brought dinner with that money, but the next day it's back to square one. What's this got to do with being a real one? And I'm glad that this person chimed in and says, kid was selling candy to get money for his family. Instead of taking the candy, he gave him some cash, and the kid can still proceed to sell his candy and make more money. Why try to spin a good deed into something negative? And I think that's what happens with KYRIE a lot. People see things that they're not really used to, even when it's a good deed like this, or with him saging, or him having a walking stick that's directly tied to his culture. Because you don't understand it, they shame it and they villainize it. But KYRIE is a good dude, and I just commend him for taking this moment to. It looked like he took all the money out of his wallet and just handed it to him, because that was a nice chunk of money. But Devin, when you see KYRIE do something like this, are you surprised, or do you kind of just know that this is who he is as a good-hearted individual?
I'm not surprised at all. We on the Fumble have always been rooting for Kyrie. We always say that he is such a good guy, and all he wants to do is improve the world and help the people around him. And yes, there are his moments where we're not his biggest fans, but ultimately he is a good guy. I can tell he's just a sensitive soul, and he just wants to help people, and I really respect him for that. And anybody that's going to look at this moment, a good deed, a kind gesture that he did just out of the goodness of his heart, and criticize it, they're just completely missing the point altogether. I would like to ask that one person that tweeted, like, what's this going to do in the long run? I'd like to ask that person, when was the last time they did something just out of pure altruism? Probably never, you know? And what that money could have been the difference between a very meager dinner for that kid and his family and a really healthy, filling one. So for these people to just find any reason to hate, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's you just don't know how much that can inspire somebody to know that somebody like Kyrie cares. Just the act of kindness alone, aside from the money, is going to go a long way with this kid and this family. So acts of kindness are always good, you guys. That's the message that you need to take from this, and stop hating for hate's sake, because it's ridiculous. All right, so let's move on to this next one, because this next one, you guys, I love Brandon Marshall. When he played for the Denver Broncos, he was my guy. And he's usually right on his, I forget the name of their podcast, but it's with him and a couple other guys. He's usually 100% right, especially when he talks about, you're not supposed to be eating McDonald's and all that good stuff. But I think he's confused a little bit. He's not 100% wrong, and I'll explain in a second, but I think he's confusing NFL contracts with NBA contracts. And the lesson here is just because you talk louder doesn't make you right. Take a look.
Y'all talking about because y'all talking about the NBA, everybody got guaranteed contracts, and it's false. They do. Searching this and I'm telling you it's the truth. No, they don't. Not everybody that's on the NBA roster have a guaranteed contract.
There's two-way contracts. There's two-way contracts,
no, it's not.
And then there's the top dogs. There's the top dogs.
No, it's not. There's 4 guys on the NBA team that got guaranteed contracts, and everybody else can be cut today and don't got nothing.
And don't have nan dime.
Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed.
So who has a better structure, the NBA or the NFL?
Everything y'all saying is what I'm saying. It's now you finally got the Russell Wilsons of the world finally saying something.
Okay, I'll agree with the Russell Wilson part, right? Because the NFL's contracts are entirely different than the NBA contracts. Almost all, not 100% all, but most NBA contracts are fully guaranteed. So that means if a player gets hurt or cut, he's getting his money. Unless maybe the franchise is taking a chance on you, or the two-way contracts when you're still involved with the G League as well. Okay, maybe. But this user is right. So take a look at this this tweet. This user is right because Dwight Howard, when he came back to LA, he was on a 1-year non-guaranteed contract. But again, that's not the norm. When you have a regular contract, it is guaranteed. That's why when the basketball wives and all that started, they used to always say they would talk down to those NFL wives like, my man's money is guaranteed though. I watched the first couple episodes of Basketball Wives when it first came out. It was terrible. But so he's kind of right. But just because you get louder doesn't mean you're right. If you would have stopped for 2 seconds and listened, you guys probably all could have come to that conclusion together and said, yes, 99% of NBA contracts are guaranteed. There is that 1% that is not. But that doesn't mean that I don't know. I don't know what Brandon Marshall was thinking. I hate when my man looks bad like that, though, because I actually love me some Brandon Marshall. But this whole yelling, Devin, do you understand? Because I see people do this all the time. When they believe in their heart that they're right, they will not listen to anything else, but they'll just continually get louder. That is my biggest pet peeve.
That is my biggest pet peeve too. Or when you're in a conversation with somebody and you both start talking at the same time, and instead of one person backing off, both people just continue talking louder and louder. So awkward. I hate that. I don't understand why this conversation would have made anybody this heated, regardless of how he felt, who was right. I don't understand why there was so much anger and intensity there. But yeah, I don't get this. Not a good look for him. Sorry.
No, but I mean, we also saw Chad get just as heated over eating McDonald's every day. So People are passionate about what they're passionate about. I'm not tripping. But okay, so let's go to this next one, because this next one, Giannis is, aside from there was a nasty rumor going around that I didn't like Giannis. It's not true. I love the whole Antetokounmpo family. I love the brothers. They are awesome. But there's this guy on TikTok. He goes around and he asks guys that have, or people, it's not always just guys, but people who have nice cars, what they do for a living. And I love that he went up to Giannis and asked this. And I love what Giannis said in return. Check it out.
Love your car. What do you do for a living?
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin.
Man, no, we just work hard. We work extremely hard.
Work hard. All right. All right. Nice to meet you, man. See you guys.
That's just so chill and laid back. And Giannis has that sense of humor that's kind of late. He was like, oh, let me think something good. Let me think something good. Bitcoin. I love this moment in time. It was great. Go ahead, Devin.
I want to add something really. I follow this guy on TikTok. He films in Dallas. Did the Bucks play in Dallas? Was that why he was there with the Rolls Royce, or why was he in Dallas? But anyway, how did he not know who Giannis was? To me,
I feel like
you got to know.
I feel like he did. There's no way, because if he didn't, that makes it even more funny, because he probably thought that they actually meant Bitcoin. But there's no way. There's just no way. I guess there's a way, because maybe if you're one of these TikTokers, you just really don't follow. I follow sports so much that when I hear people say that they don't know people, I'm like, there's no way in hell. But at the same time, I don't follow baseball like that. So outside of Mookie Betts, all of the Major League Baseball could be standing before me, and I'd be like, I don't know who this person is. So it's a possibility. But I love me some Mookie Betts. So I love me some Mookie Betts. But so speaking of baseball, though, you guys, I understand my eyes have just shifted. Everything looks like a germ to me right now, and I know that we are eager to get back. I personally cannot wait. Apparently, we can get back to Laker games on April 15th. I am going. I am telling you right now, I will be there. But this is a lot to me. So let me let you see what's happening in Texas. Take a look. That made my stomach hurt. That is too many people talking and spit flailing about, and it's just I'm ready to get back out there. Don't get me wrong, but I need my wingspan. I can't have you just sitting right beside me if I don't know you. That's too much for me. And it's weird to me because I did see this tweet from Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and he was calling for people to boycott. And on his little Twitter feed, it seemed like they was down to do it. He says, I was looking forward to throwing out the first pitch at the Texas Rangers home opening game until Major League Baseball adopted what has turned out to be a false narrative about Georgia's election law reforms. It's shameful that America's pastime is being influenced by partisan politics. So he's mad that Major League Baseball said, hey, we're not going for these Jim Crow voter suppression laws. We pulling out. And so many Texans were like, yep, we're not going either. We're not going either. Wall to wall. Them Texans lied. They went out there. They did not give a damn about your little feelings. Then wasn't boycotting nothing. And Twitter made sure to point that out, because this user says, man, look at all those Texans who boycotted Major League Baseball yesterday, who couldn't pass up the super spreader event. Texas did not care. They care in that Twitter feed, but they did not care when it came time for this game. And this one says, Texans really don't care what happens to us at all. Maybe it's just me. I was a germaphobe before this pandemic, so I can honestly say it's gotten a little worse now, but there is no way I'm sitting arm to arm to arm to arm with all those people. Devin, what do you see when you see this video and you see all these people?
Super spreader, COVID super spreader event. God, if I was in that crowd, I would be so paranoid, because I am such a hypochondriac. I would not do well with that many people nearby. And I'm shocked that there are so many people who are willing, but I guess it's Texas. What can we expect?
Yeah, and even with me saying that, I want to go back to a Laker game, we have a box. Not me personally, my friend has a box. So that's a little different, because there's only a certain number of people in that box anyway, and it's a good amount of space. If my friend calls me and says that she doesn't have that box, I don't know if I'm going, because I just am not going to be sitting next to some random people. That's just, I don't know. That's just me. This whole thing is weird to me right now. But as you guys can see, baseball is back. So the weirdness that we just saw in that video is going to get exponentially worse in this one coming up, because the Cubs beat Milwaukee yesterday. Let me show you this first tweet, because this guy says, "Don't call it a comeback. Wrigley Field's been here for years." And so he posts this, but when you just see his tweet, you don't really know what's coming, you guys. The video is horrendous. So he says, "Don't call it a comeback. Wrigley never left." So when you look at that, it kind of looks like people are just getting ready to maybe go into a game. When I tell you every form of chaos is happening in this video, take a look. Girls getting beat up, come back. I got nothing. I got nothing. Devin?
That seems like something out of The Hangover, doesn't it? Like, it seems like a scene out of The Hangover. There's someone vomiting with orange vomit dripping down the sidewalk, multiple fights going on in the background. What happened?
I will say this: I am a little petty, because that girl that was running, with her big purse, I low-key was mad that she didn't slip on the vomit, because that would have just capped off that video perfectly if she just would have Kirkpatricked it off the vomit. But she didn't. Everybody, I'm assuming, lived to tell about that situation. But y'all, this is baseball. This is okay. All right. Okay. Let me just move on. That's all I got for the post up. Let's get into what we not gonna do, because this one is interesting to me, because we've talked about this before. So DERRIUS, guys, you guys, we've talked about him last month, and if you remember, he was drafted in 2018, but he played the 2019 season, but in August he was released by Washington because he was accused of domestic violence. He was charged with, and he is now facing a felony count for strangulation, 3 counts of assault and battery, and 1 count of destruction of property. So he was released after that. And then last month we told you about an elderly woman, a 74-year-old woman. Her name is Gloria Scott. She said that she encountered DERRIUS Guice back in 2017 when she was at her post, and he came out and grabbed his genitalia, told her that he wanted to have sex with her and that he liked to have sex with older women. He used a more vulgar word than sex, though, but really just inappropriate language that no man should say to a 74. No man should say to any woman, number one, but when you're young and saying that to a 74-year-old woman, it really just is kind of gross. And then when you add that on to his allegations of domestic violence, it seems like a lot. So now we fast forward and we find out that let me take it back a little bit, because we also find out that she really wanted one thing. She wanted him to not be able to play in the Citrus Bowl that year. And I think that is a very adequate punishment. She didn't want anything over the top. She didn't want this man's name smeared or anything like that. She wanted him to face consequences for sexually harassing her. And I think we can all agree that some sort of punishment was warranted in that situation. But apparently she went to her supervisor, and her supervisor was like, "Hey, no, it's not that big a deal," and blew her off. So at that point, she apparently goes to AAU basketball coach Clevin Williams and ask him to help her get LSU to do something, to make them issue some sort of punishment. Then that's when it gets crazy, y'all, because apparently there's audios, text messages, all sorts of things where it now becomes about money. So the audio recordings, text messages were all released to the police, and apparently LSU released them to the police to kind of invalidate her case, I believe. So she made a demand. So the Athletic has the reports, and the police received text messages from LSU that says that she would not go public with her story if the university paid her $100,000 or kept him out of the Citrus Bowl. So LSU provided this request for money to police, and we have that here today. So this is the text message, and it's very plain. He says, "I have contacted Miss Gloria and requested her money amount. She asked me to speak with her grandson I finally met with the grandson last night. I requested an amount of money. The grandson stated that due to public embarrassment and sexual harassment, the family is requesting $100,000 in compensation for their grandmother. He stated that Ms. Gloria is emotionally distraught, cries upon bedtime, and has mental anguish. He also requested that I forward a copy of this Superdome report to you guys. So this one is tricky because I do think, and I've said this with the Deshaun Watson situation, when you throw money in there, it becomes about money and not about justice. And in this situation, yes, what DERRIUS Guice did was wrong. I definitely think that he should have been held out of the Citrus Bowl. But I don't think you're crying yourself to sleep at night. I don't think that you have this mental anguish at 70. At 74, you done been through some things. You've seen some things. You've heard some things. You probably have done some things that are equivalent to a young man acting inappropriately. And I just don't think that you're at 74, you don't have the arsenal in your background to be able to deal with something like that and fire back at him maybe. And if you don't fire back at him, I don't know if I personally believe that it caused you enough mental anguish to ask for $100,000. That being said, that is just me. That's how I see life. I am a little stronger than a lot of people, and I understand that and I accept that. So I'm not going to totally say that. But people are saying, well, now she extorted money, and her extorting money or attempting to extort money invalidates her case. That is not true. Let me just let you guys know that. What we're not going to do is, yes, once you try to extort, if you go into it looking for money, then to me, yes, that invalidates your case. But when you do the steps that she took, when you go to your supervisor, and then your supervisor doesn't want to have anything to do with you, doesn't want to help you find justice, doesn't even want to have this young man sit out a game, then you understand that this is a situation where people are going to blow you off. And at this point, the school, DERRIUS Guice, would probably rather just pay you off to keep you quiet than have this come out publicly. So now you probably do seek monetary compensation because this happens all the time. We've seen this happen all the time where guys will pay out money just to make it go away. So I don't think her asking for $100,000 invalidates her claim that this happened. I don't think that, because it's not an absorbent amount of money. It's a lot, but it's not a ridiculous amount of money. And she didn't ask for that from DERRIUS Guice. She asked for it from the school, which to me makes sense because I'm employed by the school. I went to the school for help and you guys dismissed me and there's no recourse in this. So I don't feel like this is a situation where we have to think, oh, this probably didn't happen because she went out here asking for money, because she did take the right steps. She didn't wait a whole bunch of time and then come out with this later. She tried to address it immediately. They blew her off. I think this request for $100,000 is warranted. I'm not sure if this is exposing her as an extortionist. So that's my opinion. What we're not going to do is assume that in this situation specifically, because she took the right steps, that she's just out in it for money. But that's just me. Devin, what do you think by her requesting this $100,000?
I think I agree with you, Jackie. I mean, I do think that it kind of, it does raise a little bit of a red flag for a lot of people. Maybe not necessarily me or you, but when anybody tries to do any sort of extortion, it kind of, it makes you think like, why are you going to those lengths? But then again, if she was dismissed in her attempts to handle things the right way and do it the right way, I guess I don't blame her for trying to, rectify the situation through a different manner. And also, she probably had her grandchildren and people younger than her encouraging her to do this. I think that old people can be very vulnerable. I mean, she's 74, so maybe she didn't even really realize that it was like extortion that she was doing. It could have been something that she was pushed to do by the people around her. So you never really know. And that's why I also feel a little bit, if she says that she's suffering mental anguish, every night at 74, she probably feels frail, maybe a little bit weak. I don't know. I don't know what a 74-year-old feels like, but if she feels like it's been really traumatic for her, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't really know. But I do think that in this situation, it shouldn't raise as big a red flag as it would if it were somebody younger or a different, a different scenario altogether.
Yeah, I see Jason in the chat, and he goes, no money, press charges. She tried that. She tried to go through the necessary channels to get support from her supervisors to have this man receive some consequences. They blew her off and dismissed her with the typical boys will be boys. So when that's the case, I think at 74 you might feel a little helpless. Like if your boss isn't going to help you, then who is going to help you? So then maybe you do. And I could totally see her grandson being like, "Grandma, we need to get this money." And I could see something like that happening. But I don't think that automatically makes her claims false. It might show that she's very impressionable by what her grandson wants her to do. Is probably what it shows more than anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Interesting case there, though. I feel bad for her that she was just completely dismissed and that it was written off as boys will be boys, because that's never a good excuse. Just be a decent person. Right. It's really not that hard. Right. All right, well, let's wrap up the show for the day, you guys. We're going to be back again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as usual. So tap the bell so you're notified exactly when we're going live. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment below. Share this video with your friends. Let us know what you think about what we talked about today. And we will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have some good tacos. We'll see you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.